Mika Aberra, welcome to the Creative Gap podcast.
Thank you so much, man.
Finally.
It's been a long time coming,
Yeah.
I feel.
It's good to have you on the show. It's good to see you, and thank you for having me in your house.
Of course, yeah, anytime.
Um,
Feels like a great welcome to the city as well.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Welcome to America.
thank you.
So what has this process like been for you? How do you feel about being here? You're 2 weeks here now, you told me?
Yeah, 2 weeks. Yeah, tomorrow it's exactly 2 weeks. It's funny because I come from a city called Gothenburg in Sweden, and it's like the smallest town ever, compared to America and specifically New York, maybe. So it's fun. I think we grow up very like Americanized in Sweden, and like we take a lot of American culture, and so it feels like kind of absurd in a way to like actually be in the country because like it feels like a big jump.
It's
Uh,
kind of feel like a dream come true in a way.
yeah, it
Yeah.
is like in a way, yeah, for sure.
Mm.
It's yeah, it's almost, I would say for me it's like almost more kind of absurd, like it plays in that because it's so like when like I lived in Gothenburg 4 years ago, and then I moved to Stockholm, and then from Stockholm here, so it's like just thinking about it, like only 4 years ago I was in my hometown. It's kind of crazy, but it also feels like the most natural thing ever, um and yeah, just been very lucky, I think, with the process of getting here, and we were speaking a little bit about it earlier as well, but like just how fortunate I've been to have great people to help me out, and just like inside of the business and outside of the business, it's just been like the smoothest thing ever, honestly, since like planted the seed a year ago to come here and start this journey. So yeah, I feel really excited, and like
What sparked the idea to move here, especially for work? What was the reason?
the funny thing is, like, it was actually very little for work. It was like I remembered the first uh, the first day I was coming here. Um, I was just with some friends at Transmitter Park, and as soon as I got into the city, it was like this like vibrant energy, and I'm like, this is like complete opposite to Sweden and everything that I've ever experienced, and but I think also like it felt very like close to my heart in a way, like the way I like to socialize, and just the way I like to, if I see someone on the street, which I find fascinating or interesting, like I want to go up and talk to them, and like I feel like that's like New York in a nutshell. It's
Right.
like there's no boundaries whatsoever. Like private space doesn't exist. It's like you just like kind of go, and yeah, it was really like I was sitting there watching the sunset, and the people I was with. One of the people was actually a hatat, which you had on
Yeah.
as well. So it was like, uh, yeah, I think I'm moving to New York, guys. And they all like looked at me like, yeah, right.
Right.
And then 6 months later, it was like the process of getting the visa and like getting signed here was happening, and yeah, it was just one of those moments. I just knew immediately. It was so much energy based and so much like a personal thing of like me as a person. I need to go here because that's gonna make me
I love that.
grow,
Yeah.
and like everything, it's like if you grow as a person, it bleeds so much into like your
Absolutely.
work, and
Yeah.
film as well, especially since it's so like human based
Yeah.
kind of work, so
I think it shows that you have also like I think there's an element of courage in a way to move because even within the United States, you could grow up in one particular area in one state where the film industry in particular maybe isn't as prominent or there isn't an industry or a community. And a lot of people fear the idea of moving. They move away from friends, they move away from family to be able to actually kind of inject themselves in an area where they might feel more fulfilled. They might
yeah.
find a sense of community. And you obviously took a bigger leap to go to a different country.
Yeah.
I guess personally, what was that like kind of maybe leaving friends or family behind and
Yeah.
kind of having to, start fresh here?
That's a great question. I think like for this move right now, it's funny because I think I'm still processing a lot. Still, it's very early days, obviously, But it comes in like small spurts. It's like the other night I was like having a moment on my own in the evening, and like I was thinking about my best friend, and I was like really missing him a lot. And it's like a very melancholic feeling, and it was heavy, and it was like, it's like now you're out here and you're kind of like finding your place, but I think in general, I it's always felt like the most natural thing to do. Like this is obviously like my first big move like
Yeah.
this. But I think, that for the last 10 years I've been very much on the move, and seeing different places, and like not like still haven't really been rooted, in one place so much. And I think that goes a lot into like, as a person with like immigrant parents in Sweden, and this is so many people's story, but we have this like in Swedish we would call it like the sort of in between ship. I don't know if you guys use like something similar, but
No, what is up?
it's like, it's like you're brought up in the country, but your parents are immigrants.
I see.
So you like never feel enough of any. It's like for me, it's like, oh, you're not black enough. Oh, you're not Asian enough. You're not Swedish enough. Like, so it's I think that has like helped me a lot actually, because like growing up that was awful, and it was like I have no sense of belonging or like community, and it just feels like wherever I went, it was like you're not enough of this or that. So like I think one good thing was like I got very comfortable with being on my own, and I like still to this day I think I have no problem with being alone, and that's kind of nice. But more so these days, I think, which also comes back to what we speak about, like moving here and transitions and all of that, is like you actually understand that you're so much like you have so much understanding of everyone,
Yeah.
because like I know what my mom comes from, which is like she comes from Sri Lanka, and it's been like quite a strict bringing up, and also the culture there in terms of parents and kids are so like the kids are like their parents' property in a way.
Interesting.
Uh,
It's a totally different dynamic. Yeah.
it's wild.
Yeah.
It's so wild, and like I was brought up a lot with that mentality, and but I know my mom had probably like a times 100 version of that. So yeah, you get a sense of that, you understand that, and then like all of my like Swedish friends had such a like loose goose kind of
Yeah.
bringing up. Everything's like chill, and I'm like, oh my god, my mom's gonna slap me if I if I do this. It's like, so it's funny how that's worked later in years. It's
Yeah.
like now it's like I think I can just adjust to most things like quite easily, and I mean I have to like it obviously,
Yeah.
but it's like I can sort of be a chameleon in that sense, and just transition easily because I have this background and understanding of like, okay, you come from this, and I sort of know these patterns, and all of my friends were really mixed as well, so that just bled in so much to like being able to like be comfortable with yourself,
Right.
and also with other people's, and as a matter of fact, I don't know if I answered your question.
Yeah.
But maybe like,
Yeah. Do you have an aspiration of one day trying to find your home? Like, is that something that you think about often?
as a physical space,
Yeah.
not really.
Mm.
I think it's gonna shift
Yeah.
so many times. I think actually New York feels like a long term home, like a really long term home for sure, and maybe the place where I felt most at home, like even more, much more than Sweden, to be honest. Um, and for me, and what I felt a lot recently, especially I have to say, like especially last 6 months, has been like I feel a lot of like home within people rather than like physical spaces.
Sure.
Because New York is great, but it's all about the people. Like New York without the people, it's
Yeah.
just
It's nothing.
it's like a
Yeah.
dump,
Yeah.
So so it's that, it's like for me, it's so much the people, and yeah, it's always been that. It's always like, okay, what energy do I surround myself with, and then you know if I have those people, like if we go anywhere, like that could be home,
Right.
it's like easily, so it's all about that for me. So not so much in physical space. I think there's like times where something suits me better. I think
Sure.
now is perfect for New York. Sweden has been great. And I think maybe in the future it's like maybe you need something calmer or whatever. It's I'm very open to that, but nothing that I really think about too much, to be honest.
Growing up, you said that, you maybe you didn't really find your sense of belonging
Mm,
anywhere, or like you maybe were okay with being alone a lot or like by
mm,
yourself.
mm,
Do you find that as you grew up and you started to find this industry, like this film industry, where it's
mm.
mostly related to having relationships and being with people,
Yeah.
was that something that you had to learn about yourself, about how to work with people, how to be in relationships with people when you were so comfortable growing up, kind of being by
Mm.
yourself?
Yeah. No, that's very interesting. I think, and we talked about this as well because we both have a background in football.
Mm-hmm.
And I think very early on, I was very like a loner and wanted to be on my own. I was very comfortable with that. I had friends and stuff as well, but I just kind of like, and then I started getting more heavier into football. And I think that helped me a lot to like learn collaboration and discipline and teamwork and compassion and all of those things, that is we as a collective
Yeah,
need to perform for us to like kind of you know have a good result or
I
whatever,
agree. Mm-hmm.
and then I think that made me a lot more of a people's person. So very introspected early years and still have that part of me for sure, but I've become so much more of a people's person with the years, and more so now, I think. And so I think yeah, I think that was the spark, like that really helped me to understand that. And then eventually, yeah, it's funny because today I still like think about those things
Yeah.
and like and sort of connect them to filmmaking in a
Mm.
weird way, and try to like like find a way to like translate whatever that is, because like football is so much more stiff in a way. It's much more like you just practice and
Right.
you become good, whereas like films is so much more poetic
Yeah.
and just like loose in a way. Like there's no defined answers like in that way, and you just have to like feel it in a
Right.
different sense,
Everyone has their own path,
yeah, yeah,
journey.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's so open, it's so hard to like put a line like this is the way, it's like practically impossible, I think.
Growing up where you did, and your mother specifically maybe having come from a very strict background, was there a sense of like creative acceptance in your life?
No, not at all.
No. How did you find the ability to want to pursue something creative in an environment that really didn't maybe promote that?
Yeah, I think mm, so like a very long story short, but so that side of my family with my mom was very academic and strict, and it's like you need to be these things because it's like socially accepted, and it's like everyone knows that like if you're a doctor or a lawyer, like good for you. So I think the creative part, I kind of had to like figure that out on my own. I had friends who like introduced me, like some of my closest friends were introducing me to the arts and creative stuff, and that definitely helped me because they were very like, sort of supportive. and
Yeah.
and then on my dad's side, it's been more like they've also been academics, but a lot more acceptant. And I think most of all, my grandma and my dad were really like, I think they just pushed something inside of me, which was a lot about like, you need to like keep childishness and a playfulness. And I think my grandma specifically, I was having this conversation yesterday, but my grandma specifically was very like hard with like, you need to like try things and just like don't be afraid of like failure, or like that concept has never like actually never existed in my head. I've been very scared of like challenges, like specific challenges. Like it's been, it's like you face something and it's scary, but the concept of failing has like never really existed for me. It's always been like, oh, this is learning.
Right.
So I think she like really like put that in my head so early on, before I even like, I was just like a toddler and like,
Yeah. Before you even can conceptualize what that
yeah,
meant.
exactly. But I think, as a kid, like that sinks in,
Yeah.
subconsciously. And she just kept repeating that as I was growing up and going into my youth years. And so this like idea of failure has like never stuck to me in that way. It's always been like, oh, let me just do this. And then normally I'll be like, try to do so many things that I like have no time to think about
Yeah.
like how much I fucked up on the previous one. So it's like a mind kind of like a mind fuck for myself. But yeah, I think that is very connected to how I approach like going into creative, because I think I just had to like I just had to do it, like, and I had to. Unfortunately, I have like a pretty bad story with my mom. It's like we kind of broke. Like I cut the thread when I was like maybe 9 years ago, so I was like 21 or something. Because it was just getting too toxic. It was like It was very like, to be very frank, it was like kind of mental abuse in a way, and she was very expressive about like what I was for the family, which was like for her a disgrace, because like I didn't come up to these standards of like what you should be. So which is horrible, and like it really sucked at the time, but also it's something that really made me so strong today, and I think made me go even harder into what I do today, because for me it was like there was no other way. Like this makes me happy, and this is what my heart is like gravitating towards. So I need to stick through with this, and I need to follow through. And unfortunately, it never got like sank down with her. So I just had to like cut it, because it was so much like toxic energy sipping into my system, and I was that time is hectic enough, like.
It's a very vulnerable time in your
Yeah,
life.
exactly. Like what was it, like 16 to 21?
Yeah.
You're all over the place, like regardless of what else you got going on, just like being in that time. So then it was that, and then everything, like quite a hectic time with my mom, and then um yeah, just like very busy times, so I really needed to cut things off and make it more streamlined somehow, and just make sure that I focused on the thing that I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So
Love that.
there was never any acceptance. I think it was more like me going like, you don't want to be on this journey, like, okay, let me just kick it on my own, and let's see what happens. And yeah, I think it worked out. So
I mean, I think it worked out so far.
it did. Yeah.
But I think there's an idea in there that I've been really trying to figure out lately, and it's the idea of like self-belief, but also there being an element of like delusion in a way
Yeah,
of
so interesting.
creating a life and pursuing a passion that isn't ordinary or isn't
Yeah.
normal.
Yeah.
And after hearing your story, that does provide another insight to me of just like, to someone that I personally like aspire to get to one day and look at the work that you're creating, it comes and stems from a place of, in the early stages, in the beginning, having an undeniable self-belief that you're going to kind of succeed in something.
Yeah.
If you could kind of like look back at that time, where like, did you have feelings of like, regardless, I don't have a plan B.
Yeah.
Plan A is my only plan.
Yeah, totally. I love that you say that in that way also. Like I think delusional is a fantastic word for it. And I think also most of all, and this is actually something that I've been trying to like track back to a lot in the last 6 months, because I think in the beginning you're so like childish when you start out. It's like you're taking pictures of
Yeah.
like literally everything, and just like shallow depth of focus is just so fascinating, right? And it's like it's the world, and you have a sense of like this. It's just like this like ignorance is bliss kind of attitude, which is like amazing because you just do stuff, right? There's like no overthinking, because what happens later on, I feel, is like you get to a stage of like now you're starting to like get into things with your peers, and you're alongside of them, and like even competing for jobs and stuff like that. And especially today, since like we have access to everyone's work
Right.
all the time, it becomes this like you're like next to everyone all the time, which is like super dangerous, I think, if you don't have the right sort of mindset to it.
Right.
Because what happens, I feel, and I've had seasons of that, but it's like I think you become afraid of going off track, it's like off track of what everyone else is doing, because this feels like the right thing, quote unquote.
Because everyone else is doing it.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
like following trends.
A little bit, yeah, for sure. And it's like, I think most of all, it's also like not getting in touch with that like delusional side again,
Yeah.
which is like, I mean, in the end, it's like your perspective, because like I don't think it's wrong for things to look similar, like just looks wise. But if you look at like different films that could like look similar, they can feel extremely different,
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing that we like need to like embrace, like how do we make it feel different? And I think that's so much like a perspective thing. It's like, what perspective are you taking? And it doesn't have to be like extreme visual differences or like an extreme look or anything. It's like, some things demand that and some things don't, but I think it's so much just like the feel of it. It's like what is the thing that we're trying to portray, and like how do we decide to do that, and like how would I decide to pick up a camera and shoot someone who's like feeling vulnerable,
Right.
and I only base it off of that feeling,
Mm.
which is maybe based on my previous experiences, or maybe someone in my life that I look to who's being vulnerable. And it's like really being delusional and brave enough to go into that space and only be in that space, and not look to the left or the right, or like that person is doing that, or
Yeah.
because it's, I think like what happens is like you just become, I think you can become a little bit too aware of like what's going on around you. I really like early stages is so beautiful because it
You're
doesn't exist.
exploring.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
just exploring, and I think we need to. It's such an active exercise as well. I think I've really had that like the last year or so, more so again. It's like I'm feeling more and more detached from everything around me, and it's so much more like stuff that comes from inside, and I'm trying to like get it out in an image, and I don't know if it's like too much happening right now, like in terms of like actual result, but it feels good, It's like it feels really good. It feels like it's coming from inside. It feels like I'm taking from things that exist from the past, or from other people's experiences that I known, and I think I just want to be on that train of like keep exploring,
Right.
and keep being okay with like this might turn out horrible, but like I went for it at least. Like I took like a chance on something, and because it just felt like that was the move to go. So I'd much rather be on that camp, and I really want to push myself to be more on that side, even if it like the outcome is like horrible projects from like a little time now. It might be that time, but then it starts going into like really nice things that I'm proud of.
I noticed that like when I watch your work, there is always a feeling of like exploration. Somehow it could be a commercial for
Thank you.
like I forget which one. It was it IKEA maybe.
Yeah.
I think there's still a feeling of like freedom within it.
That's so
I don't
nice.
know, and I don't think it's something that you could actually look at and explain why, but there is an internal feeling that I get when I watch where it's like, oh, there is a sense of exploration and freedom within this.
Yeah.
And that to me is really fascinating. And it's hard for me to even comprehend that or even ask a question of how to achieve that.
Yeah.
But
I know what you're getting at.
I guess I'm trying to figure out of like throughout your process, were there things that you've changed about your approach in shooting or working with collaborators that allowed you to feel comfortable exploring or like gain the confidence to explore in a way? It's a hard way to.
No.
I'm struggling to find the
yeah.
question there.
I know exactly what you're getting at. Yeah, I think again, it's like it's very connected to what I spoke about being like courageous and brave enough to go into something that's like it's not specific. It's like it's not this still image that we looked at,
Yeah.
like for 3 weeks before shooting. It's just something that feels like, and I think, if I look at some of my collaborators that I worked more with, for example, one good friend is Niels Winfeld, who I shot this commercial with, for example, but we shot several spots and a short film together as well. And I think with him, it's actually like been one of the best collaborations I've ever had, to be honest. Because with him, it's so like we just kind of break it down from a core level, and it's like looking at like whose perspective are we shooting it from? How does that look like? What's like the emotional core of things? And then from there on, like I think my process has been a lot more like trying to find that out from the director, like what are you looking to feel,
Right.
and I'll literally like just write things down. I'm very like I'll like also be very picky with like not looking at things so early on.
Like references.
Yeah. Like first conversations, I would love for us not to look at anything. I just wanted to talk about how it feels like, and depending on time, obviously, sometimes you don't have time, so that's that. But if we do have a little bit of time, I prefer us to just talk about it, and I just like write things down, like whatever. It's just like random notes about anything, and then after that discussion, I go into some kind of like reference work, because then those notes are my
Guide.
navigator,
Navigator.
because I feel, and this, like I feel like if you go the other way around, you like immediately get very like affected if you look at something and then you go into those feelings, because then it also already has something attached to it. It's like whether we like it or not. It's like this whole thing of like you build up an idea of how something should look like, and then you're not looking left or right anymore, or back for that matter.
Love that.
So I think that has been probably the biggest change that I've done, and like biggest thing I carried with me. And then there's like obviously different like packages that
Sure.
I take that to different directors, because some directors are super visual, some directors don't care about looking at the image, so I need to read them into different sections. But that has been the biggest thing. And then I go into the reference work, and that kind of like makes me look at things very clearly. Like I'll look at something and be like, "That's amazing,"
Yeah.
because that's literally this word, and that's that. So it's like the direction becomes a lot more clear and right, I feel, rather than like the other way around, I would say.
I love the idea, like what you said, looking left or right, because I think at the stage of the career that I'm at right now, I sometimes lack the intuition to explore. I think maybe I know that I'm at a particular point in my career where I feel a bit stagnant
Gotcha.
in the work that I'm doing.
Yeah.
I don't know. And I've talked to a bunch of people about this, and it's something that I'm trying to work through of how to find a new version of myself in my work, essentially. And I've wondered, is it the collaborators that I'm working with? Is it am I not working with maybe directors that want to find creative ideas within even an ad or a story? Or is it frankly just me getting handed, a treatment or something from an agency
Yeah.
and doing exactly as it's presented to me without looking left or right
Yeah.
and just doing that thing? So hearing you say that a major part of your process is not looking at references immediately, but taking the idea and asking about feelings and asking about approach and looking left to right first before you then dive into the specifics really opens my mind up to how I could potentially change my approach.
Yeah. I'm very curious if I can ask you, like, what makes you feel stagnant at this moment?
I feel like I have a lot of ambition and like the work that I see and want to be able to create and know that I can create is I'm never getting there yet. But I also wonder if that's just an ongoing thing that I'll always feel. And if I look at my work now and base it off of work that I did last year
Yeah.
or 6 months ago,
Yeah.
I can confidently say that I am improving.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of my reason for saying that, I think, comes from the idea of comparison. It also comes from the fear that maybe I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
And I think I struggle with that a lot.
Yeah.
And
No, I
trying
totally.
to prove to myself and maybe try to prove to other people that I am who I internally believe that I am.
Yeah. It's funny because I'm gonna take it somewhere else just to like come back to this, but I recently, very recently, um, I think I've been focusing on a lot of other things outside of work, and it just had like very amazing, mind blowing experiences like throughout the summer, like, and it's so funny because like when I started thinking about work again, I was like prepping for a show and stuff like that. It's like I almost find myself like caring less, and there was a part of me that was like a little bit worried because I was like, oh my god, am I like not
Into it?
into this
Yeah.
anymore? You know, it was like genuinely like, what's happening? You know, and I sat with this feeling and emotion for a while, and then as it went on, I think what happened was that it just like turned into like, oh wait, no, I'm just like not taking it as seriously, and I'm like getting to a stage where I'm like allowing for it to become childish again,
That
and like that
playful.
playful, yeah, and I'm like, and I was
love that.
really been seeking that out, like really been like trying like actively like grab onto those things, you know, and it's like whether that's like taking more still images or just having more like playful open discussions with people all around me, not just collaborators, but just like, you know, anyone next to me, if it's like a friend or my girl or whatever. It's like and it's just fun, you know, it's like it feels so alive, and it's like so many things coming at me that's like, oh, I didn't expect this or that and that. So like coming back to this point, it's like I think it's like, for me at least, it's been really huge to feel a sense of like, oh, this doesn't actually really matter that much. Like when you look at it,
Right.
it's like the most extreme form of privilege to do this.
Do you think we put too much pressure on
Oh, 1000%.
ourselves? Yeah.
Yeah. Everyone does. Everyone is like, oh, I'm not good enough. But that's me as well. Like, you know, you always have that, you know. But I think, yeah, I don't know. There's something with like how good it has felt to not take it as seriously, which has actually been more beneficial. Because I think the most obvious thing is to like push harder and be more disciplined and more like diligent.
Right.
That's like, I think that's very like any working culture ever, you know,
I
like
think
any.
and I wonder if I'm curious to hear your perspective coming from Sweden opposed to America, because I think America in particular, in my
Yeah.
experience, has a very working
Oh
culture.
no, you guys work like crazy.
And I think it's so deep in my mind and from the people that I grew up with and that I'm surrounded by.
Yeah.
It's not, what's not promoted is exploration, freedom,
Exactly.
creative, like just go out and go shoot photos in Central Park for the sake of doing it for no reason.
Yeah, exactly.
I grew up in a place and I still feel like I'm surrounded by people that, are you going to do this thing and is it going to make you money?
Yeah.
Or is it going to push you in your career? Is there a purpose behind it other than because you want to?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think I do things anymore because I want to. There's always something behind it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, and I think that's also one of those realizations that I've had, because and again, that has come from all the things outside of work. It's like me becoming even more in touch with my friends, I think, because I was prepping a show in Sweden, so I had a lot of time, and a lot of time, like very like working hours. So I had a lot of times to go to nice dinners and
Yeah.
like hangouts and like, really connect, as I was like about to leave also. So that was great. And then in June, July, I met my person, and that was also like totally like revolutionating for me. It was like seeing like a wide range of colors that I'd never seen before. It was like crazy. And yeah, again, that gave me so much perspective, which was like, oh wait, I don't like, there's so few things that I need to like actually do. Like in the end, I need to like make sure I obviously work so I have money to pay rent and
Yeah.
like food and necessities, of course. Um, and then I need to take care of myself. I need to sleep well. I need to eat well. I need to exercise, and then I need to look after my people around me. But it's very a handful of things. If you actually look at the depths of it, it's like so many things that we don't need to do really,
Right.
which is so like unimportant. And that really got me to a stage of like, oh, I don't need to take this as seriously. Like let's have fun with it. And
Yeah.
like we can still work hard, like don't get me wrong, like it's just that's like a necessity. It's like a
Yeah.
obvious thing, but it's like let's how do we make it fun? Like how do we make it alive and like make it feel like we're going in and then we're going out somewhere we didn't expect to go.
Right.
And it's like I think that for me has been like the biggest thing of this year, honestly, and
It's
something I
huge.
really, yeah, something I
Yeah.
really want to keep pushing so hard and like have more of those experiences where it's like, let me just go in this way and see where I come out. Like, I don't need to like get something out of this. Like, it's just for the fun of it.
Right.
And with film also, you probably feel the same, but it's like, even though you had like a horrible shoot, like just creatively, it can still be a good time.
Yeah.
It's like if you have the
Especially
right
because the
people.
people. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You have the right people and you make it fun and like it's still a good time. It's like you will still like learn something, like some technical aspect or like some human aspect or whatever. So I think it's this like thing of like always, as you said, like it needs to be so result based and
Yeah.
it's like becomes very toxic. It's
I
like
think it is really tough, especially I think it's something that I deal with a lot, especially because I have the podcast as
yeah.
well, and a few other things. So my brain is very business oriented,
Yeah.
and I think sometimes I struggle with wanting to be more artist minded,
Yeah.
but I have so much built into my brain
Yeah.
that is like,
It's
strive
the way.
for a certain type of success.
Yeah.
And as I'm hearing you talk and listening, I'm getting a gauge of kind of like what success means to you
Yeah. Yeah.
and the individualized answer of what success means to like to me
Yeah.
versus you.
Exactly.
And mine
So
is
interesting.
definitely different at this current stage, which I think is part of the reason I'm struggling a little bit.
Yeah.
And I guess to maybe get a clearer answer at this point in your life, how do you define success for your life?
Um, yeah, I don't. Um, I think it's very easy. It's like just when I feel happy. It's like that's like truly like ultimate success for me. And that usually involves like, doing things that feels like it has like a purpose for me, or like that it has like a very, like inner experience for me in terms of projects, or and again like having fun with it. Like I get a lot of joy from going into things that um, has an outcome that I didn't expect. I think that for me is like a very like human thrilling experience, and something that creates a lot of happiness within me.
Mm.
And then I get a lot of joy from like having that community around me, which is like the people who I share the same energy with. Like we can be
Yeah.
so widely different,
Mm.
but it's like an energy of like compassion
Mm.
and like warmth, and I think enthusiasm is
I
so
love that.
important. It's like just being stoked for
Mm.
whatever. It's like we're going to a show or like a museum, or like just to have like a nice dinner. It's like just being like, this is fun. Like this is
Yeah.
like really, it's like really fun and exciting.
And I think also New York gives you that even
Mm,
more.
1000%.
Yeah.
There's so much of that, like the enthusiasm and like drive to like just do things every day, like just try random stuff. And it's a lot more fluid here as well. If I compare it to like Sweden, for example, there's much more of a fluidity and like kind
Mm.
of rolling with whatever feels right. And
Right.
then you bump into people, and it's like that takes you somewhere else. And but I think it's very simple for me. I try to like be very much more day to day right now, as I don't think I've ever been, to be honest. It's been very like, there's the thing, and
Mm.
let's see how I get there,
Right.
But now it's like making sure that every day feels nice and has some kind of lesson to it, and then that will obviously create whatever is over there,
Right.
because that's usually what happens. It's like you look so much ahead, and
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think everyone
Mm.
kind of has had that before.
This has been like so far. This has been like really eye opening for me because it's
Amazing.
stuff that I've been thinking about that I didn't really know how to maybe like comprehend
Yeah.
myself, or
Yeah.
just like I don't know. I just feel very in a very particular place in my career, and I think it's interesting because my life, on a personal standpoint, is what I always dreamed of it being. I'm very stable in that I have a house, I have a wife,
Yeah.
like I have a dog. I have almost that like quote unquote American,
Yeah.
dream
Yeah.
family.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think when it comes to that, there is that level of you have to have a certain level of success and provider
Yeah.
mentality that that puts a lot of pressure on me and my artist mindset, where I have to be more of a technical or business oriented person.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think I struggle with that a lot,
Yeah. Yeah.
as my inner artist sometimes gets suppressed
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah. Is that something you've been like thinking about a lot,
A lot.
awarely as well?
Yeah. Also,
Yeah.
just like even in the podcast, like I love it. It's one of my favorite things that I do, but it's still part of it feels like I'm running a business,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
like sometimes I lose the creative spontaneity that I want to have. So I almost wonder that like if it's just something inside of me that is always like
Yeah.
I start something creative and then it ends up becoming something business
Business
related.
driven. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, for sure. I mean, it's
And I'm not saying that's a bad thing.
no, exactly. I was just
Yeah.
gonna say, I don't think it's a bad thing. It's a very good skill to have, and it's as you said, it feels very American in a way. Like you guys like to work. It's like you're not like us in Sweden, which takes a month in the middle of the summer and just no one
Right.
can reach you. But I was gonna say, I think mm, it's like you had your patterns, and in terms of like this is how you was brought up and everything, and I had mine, with my situation with my mom and stuff. It's like I lived a long time where I was like trying to prove something to one person,
Right.
you know, and it was good because I was actually in a field that I loved, um, but it's not sustainable. Like to trying to prove something for someone else.
Yeah.
It's like I did that for a long time, and it was very like I was very driven by anger, to be honest. And I think like trying to make like a parallel between our situations, but it's like I think it's also like a very kind of practical thing for me has also been as I've like kind of come down from the anger and all of that and really like being more like in me. It's also been like looking at things of like, okay, where do I make my money? It's like these are like money jobs.
Right.
And I can go into that with a very like light, still professional attitude and like there still needs to be a standard, of course, but it is what it is. Like I know this is not gonna hit any real or any hearts or whatever, but we do it because we have to,
Yeah.
make some money as well. But then it's like looking at everything else and then being like, this is playtime. Like I can do whatever. Like if that's another job or a short film or whatever, or like if it's like me having free time, like can I write something that's like, because I do a lot of journaling and stuff, and it's like, can I write something that could like feel
Do you think a
fun?
lot of it is the choice to just do what you want?
Yeah. I think it's like actively doing that. And I think a practical thing that helps is like understanding that like this is where I'm making my money. And
That's so interesting.
like
Yeah.
everything else is literally playtime.
I feel like I live my life a lot by less of I want to do this and more I have to do this.
I get it. I've had that as well for sure. And I think yeah, just very like shortly, like the last year or so, been getting to some kind of enlightenment of like understanding that there's a few things that I have to do. So what happens if I look into like what I want to do? It's like, do I, like and so many things that is like just allowing yourself to be so fully like lazy or just
Yeah, it's
relaxed or it's like it's so easy to be like just whip on yourself and like go and like that's great to have in periods for sure, but it's not sustainable. It's not fun
yeah,
most of all. I think that's the big word for me. It's like how do I make sure I make this fun and make it feel
right.
alive? Because like I don't know, for me at least, I want to be like really rich on life in the end and be like have like the crazy story to
Yeah,
tell and like just be like I lived like
yeah,
for sure. Um, Everything else is just like I'm not taking stuff for money and stuff to my grave. It's like I don't need that. So yeah, I think that just like separating things
yeah.
can make it easier for your brain also to be like,
Mm.
oh, like I've filled up the good boy quote,
Right.
and now I can go and just be like whatever,
Yeah, have fun, play.
Yeah,
I love
play,
that.
yeah, exactly. So I think that has helped me a lot for sure. But I think that's gonna also be like it's gonna fluctuate and
Right. I think
go in and out.
like any stage of your life, what you believe now might not be what you practice in 5, 10
Yeah,
years from now.
exactly.
But I think
Yeah,
it's being
for sure.
open to fluctuating your ideas and your
Yeah,
beliefs a
exactly.
little bit.
And whatever feels good right now,
Right.
So yeah, I feel like yeah, more fun, like more play
I'm gonna write
should
that. I'm
be.
gonna get a tattoo
You
of that, I
should, yeah,
think.
yeah, you
Yeah.
should. No,
I need that.
definitely.
I really do. I think I
Yeah,
need that in
yeah,
my life.
yeah,
And
yeah. I think
I
we
think
need
something,
to remind ourselves and each other also
yeah.
sometimes, like.
And even in my relationship too, I think as you know, you start a relationship with a significant other, in particular, a partner. I think the beginning part of the relationship is very playful. It's very fun. It's spontaneous because you're getting to know that person.
Of course.
And I think being in a relationship for 10 years and just getting married, there have been moments of like maybe lack of spontaneity, lack of fun, lack of this
Yeah.
because of a level of maybe complacency or just being too comfortable.
Yeah, yeah. Of
So I think
course.
also my level of fun has to do with maybe trying to like have fun with her as well and
Yeah,
be spontaneous with her as well. Like
yeah,
we
yeah.
used to go to parks. We used to go take photos of each other. We used to go do this, and we still do have fun in those moments, but
Of course.
it's not as often anymore. We
Yeah.
never really just go out to just go have fun
Yeah,
somewhere.
yeah, yeah. And
And I
just
think
like, I don't know.
because I have a partner that's so involved in my life, I think part of that fun is I'm missing that maybe with her.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I guess it's like, it's all of these things, everything is so connected, right? It's
It
like,
really is.
it's always like that. That's been like how I came into the industry as well. It's so like, I came in from a very like psychology angle. So it's like, as a person, as life and film, like everything just blends in so much together. And yeah, I think it's like I feel like it's just like a thing you always have to be aware of. Like you always like it's like training a muscle. It's
Yeah.
like you always just have to be like, where's this like fun muscle of like, okay, what do we do today? And it's like anything. It's like some days it's just like you're not feeling it. It's like
Right.
not fun. But um it's like so nice because when you keep doing it, it's like you get so surprised. It's like, oh, let me just like go to like a random park and see what
Right.
happens. It's like I literally had that experience yesterday. Actually, I was like, because now I'm like everything is so new. I'm like finding
Yeah.
it, and I was like kind of tired. I wanted to go on a run, and I was thinking of going like a route that I'd already gone. But then I was like, no, let me go to this new park. And then there was this like. This like beautiful park just around here, and all these guys like huge guys playing basketball and whatnot. It was like super intimidating. I went to like this outdoor gym and basketball field, but then I like started talking with them, and they were like, "Oh, we play here like every Saturday and Sunday," and like all of a sudden, like you go out from there, and you're like, "That's isn't that the feeling?"
Yeah.
Like it's like new, and it's like whoa, like I approached someone, and it's like felt thrilling and intimidating at the same time, but I still did it, and they approached me with like open arms, and now I'm gonna play basketball next week. So
Love it.
it's like these
Yeah.
little, it's like when you go and have a workout and it feels great afterwards.
Yeah.
You never feel, or like
It
usually
sucks
never
sometimes.
feels,
Yeah.
during or before,
Yeah.
but you just kind of like have to like, yeah, I'll just do it and see how it feels. Like one time it feels great, like the other time it's like, meh. But it's like the exercise of repetition, I think, and yeah, it's the same thing with that fun and enthusiasm as well. It's such a muscle as well. Like you really have to like practice that, I think, and sometimes it's inspiring, sometimes it's not,
Right.
and yeah, so I think it's that.
I think the other aspect to it, more specifically in terms of my role as a cinematographer and in the film industry, when it comes to the actual like money making side of it,
Yeah.
I think that sometimes I also lack the ability to give myself freedom to have fun or relax, especially in moments where I'm not busy
Yep.
or I'm not working, I'm not making
Yeah.
money.
On set or like.
And I sometimes look at myself like, oh, is my identity too much in that job?
Yeah.
Do
Exactly.
you feel a similar thing? And like, how do you kind of
Definitely.
approach your life in moments where
Yeah.
maybe work isn't,
Yeah.
doing well for you?
Yeah. No. Definitely. I think I'm feeling it to some extent now, because I come off a show 2 weeks ago, and now it's like I've told myself I'm gonna take weeks off, 3 4 weeks off, and sometimes it's like this is amazing. My life is great. I get to rest. I
Yeah.
can sleep out, like whatever. I watch a film here or go to exhibition there, and then it's like little spurts where it's like, what am I doing? Like, what? Like I'm just drifting. Like whatever. Um, for sure. And I think now it's a lot easier now because I'm more calm in myself. I'm more like, and again, like what we spoke about, like there's so many other things in my life that makes it so rich and lively and makes me excited. So I have all of that, and I think, um, honestly, this is like a super boring answer, but it's like it's a lot of it is just like sitting in the feeling of like this feels horrible. Like I feel like I'm drifting. I feel like I'm not getting anything done, or whatever. Because like, um, what we do a lot, and what I've done a lot is like, you try to run from a feeling by doing something else.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
so much. But I've like done a lot of therapy and a lot of like meditation and stuff, and sometimes it's just like just sit with it, like literally just like sit down and like take it in. What's going on? Like what is it like exactly inside of that emotion that makes you feel this way? And usually the thing that I come back to is like sometimes I just feel it. It's like I can't help it. But sometimes I get to like some kind of specific thing, and that is usually that it's just so wired in. Like my brain is just so trained to work so much
Right.
and just keep that. And then it's
It's like
like,
momentum.
yeah, it's momentum. It's like dopamine.
Yeah,
It's
for
like
sure.
very chemical in a way, also, I think. And yeah, because it's like if you look at what you've done and like everything you've achieved is like what we talked about. It's like getting like doing your first feature like within the first 1.5 years. It's like it's crazy. It's like, and like me just coming off like 35 days straight of shooting, and then like being all like, oh, I'm not doing anything like after 2 weeks. It's like, no, you're supposed to rest, like
Right. Right.
like being very like frank and logic as well. It's like,
I think what I want to dig into maybe a little bit deeper is if you experience at this point in your career now, if you experience a moment of like maybe lack of work, not by choice, but because nothing is literally coming in.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I think that's something that I struggle with a lot in the stage of my career
yeah.
is sometimes I feel lost because one, maybe the relationships that I've built with directors and producers, nothing is coming in.
Coming in from them.
And I sometimes feel like, how do I then build something new? How do I
Yeah.
find new relationships? Should I even like how do I even navigate this moment in time where I feel like I just am lost?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a very good question. I feel like I've been extremely lucky when it comes to that, because I've been in like a very long flow, uh, and I think honestly, and I think just to come back to your question is like, I think regardless, it's like looking at things that you want to be doing,
Yeah.
um, because as DPs as well, we're so like servants of things. It's like servants of a director's story, or like servants of an agency vision, or whatever. It's so like servant all the time,
Yeah.
And I think as DPs, like, especially, I mean, this is any creator, but like for us, I think, if you're out of work, if you're working your ass off all the time, either way, I don't like your question was about like how do you deal with that when it's like it's not like buzzing anymore, like it's not coming in and stuff like that. And I think it's so important to like go into these venues of like, what do you do if you could choose? It's like if you don't have a director, it's like what do you decide to invest into? That may be in work, that might be outside of work, but it's like, what do you like? Is there like other things
Right.
that is even more thrilling for you? And is that possible to do totally without any directors or any collaborators for that
Right.
matter? Like, could you go out and just do that today? I mean, if that's the case, that's even better, because then you're so detached. Then it's like you don't have to wait for someone to like hit you up
Yeah.
and be like, let's do this, or like whatever. And I think most of all, it's like then you're putting out this thing of like chasing something that's like someone else's, you know. I think it's great. I love the position as a DP because you're like the closest right hand usually. It's great and that suits me very well. But I need to have things that are like greater than that. That is like, this makes me even more excited. And this I can do like, you know, every day, you know, if that's like several things or whatever. And I think that helps me on an end of like maybe not having fed that as much, you know. It's like making sure that I always try to feed that. Like every time I get a little pocket of time or whatever, it's like I need to make sure to squeeze in those things, whether that's work related or not. I just need to get it in there because otherwise I just serve and serve and serve and serve.
Right.
And then it's like, where am I in all of this? Like, you know, if I get to decide every camera position or every lighting decision or every, you know, everything, what happens then, you know? Because that's not the case. Like even on my passion project or like short films that I'm shooting, it's like not every decision is mine,
Right.
like in terms of angles and whatnot. It's like, and it's nothing that I'm not like proud of.
Yeah.
So it's like it wasn't fully my decision.
Sure.
So I think it's something like, and it's like I think it's a bigger scale thing as well, where it's like you as a creator, like where do you place things? How do you put things? And how do you decide to frame things and portray things if you get to decide fully? Like no one else has anything to
Right.
say about it. Because in the end, like that is your vision as an artist. And that is like how you make decisions. And yeah, I don't think it's about like always having it like that. It's just understanding that is like, this is what I would have done if I had the
Yeah.
choice to do it. Yeah.
I think a good example of that for you is that documentary that you created, the ones with the airplane,
Oh, the pilot.
the pilot.
Yeah, exactly.
That was your project.
Yeah, that was fine.
correct?
Yeah, I directed
What?
and shot that. Yeah.
How was that experience for you? Just being able to like, you know, as you said that whole entire thing, and then actually go and do the thing. Was it
Yeah.
freeing for you to be able to fully create something that's yours?
Yeah, it was. It truly was. Yeah, it's probably one of my favorite projects ever because it has so much sentimental value as well.
Right.
I don't know how much you read about it, but Haraldur, which was my main subject, like he unfortunately passed a couple of years ago now, and he was like just an amazing friend. Like I didn't meet him a lot of times, but we hung very intensely. It was like I did my first ever film project with him when I started like 5 years ago or something, and I just hit him up out of nowhere because I thought it was interesting, and then we shot for like 2 weeks, and he just hung out with me for two
Nice.
weeks. Like there was no
Yeah.
like, you know, and then like during that time it was crazy because I had my birthday in Iceland that time,
Oh, nice.
and then one day he was like, "So what are you up to this weekend and stuff?" And I was like, "Oh no, it's like my birthday, so I might just like have some food or whatever." And then he goes like, "Oh, what are you doing? Just come over to our place, like with his family." And they
Wow.
cooked like dinner and
So
made a
nice.
cake, and his
Wow.
3 kids were there, like you know. And then 2 years later, we did this film that you watched, and it was the same thing, but like I had become so much better, obviously. But it was like we took it up where we left it,
Yeah.
like the last time, and it was just so amazing. It was like we had a script, but you know, Iceland is Iceland, and weather is like crazy, and like there's so many, and they're like Icelandic people are also like whatever, like they're so chill.
Yeah.
It's like mañana mañana.
Yeah.
So they like he's living his life, whatever he has to do, whatever. So we're kind of like we have the script that keeps like the days keep moving around all the time, and every night it's like, oh, so we got this. So what are we like doing tomorrow? And like, should we add this? And like, and we're like recording the voiceover as we're shooting as
Right.
well to just kind of give it more guidance. So it was total freedom. It was like total, just like me and him. It's like it was just me on the camera, and I had a couple of grips for one day when we were shooting. Like we were placing cameras on the wings.
Yeah, it's so cool.
It was so cool. It was
Yeah.
like I was like a little kid. I was like
Yeah.
watching them like
Yeah.
rig this camera. I'm like, oh my god, this is gonna be so nice.
They were stunning.
Yeah, it was quite amazing.
Beautiful.
And
Yeah.
it was the only sunny day
Wow.
of the whole shoot out of 14 days, which is crazy that we managed to get such a crazy sunset
Yeah.
for that day specifically. You know, it had been like windy and rainy every day, and we couldn't get up in the air. So we were just spending a lot of time in like is it called hangar? In
The hangars.
yeah,
Yeah,
hangars,
yeah, yeah.
to just configure like some kind of rig.
Right.
And then eventually like it cleared up and they were like, okay, let's go today. And we like rushed out there and like rigged all day, and then it like timed the sunset so perfectly, and I'm just so happy with it. And then yeah, it was like such an intimate experience.
Right.
And then you know, I was very close to not releasing that because of what happened, to be honest. But
Are you glad you did?
oh, 1000%. But that was so much his family's. You know, they wanted to put it out because they had seen it.
Yeah.
He had seen it also before he passed.
That's great.
So they were all like
Yeah.
over the moon about it, which was like, my work is done, you know.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, they wanted to have it. So they showed it at the memorial actually.
Wow.
Which was crazy. I think it's like the craziest experience maybe ever in my life. It's like 300 people.
Wow.
And
Were you present during that?
yeah, I was there. Yeah, I was there for the funeral and everything. And it's like, you know, when you have 300 people who like kind of talks at the same time, it gets quite loud. And then someone just, or someone like one of my friends, we weren't doing like a presentation or anything, but so one of the guys just put it on. And then in the beginning, it's like an engine of a airplane. And then his voice comes out. And then everyone goes silence.
Wow.
Like it was
You,
so
like, chills.
That was so powerful. Like it was so crazy. And everyone just turned around to the projectors and stuff. And yeah, it was so wild.
What an experience that is.
Yeah,
Oh my
it was
gosh.
so out of my
Yeah.
control. Like it was like, I can't take any credit for that. That is so him, you know. And I think that moment also showed what a person he was and how much people like he meant for the people present there. There was 800 people in the church, like in this Hallgrímskirkja, and then 300 for the memorial. And then the rest of the evening, we just like had dinner and like really celebrated him. It was so beautiful, and being able to have this piece for him,
Yeah.
and then like eventually putting it out for people to see as well. It's hands down one of the best things I've ever got to put my hands on. You know,
Seems like a common theme that people's projects that they're the most proud of are the ones that are the most intimate and the most personal.
1000.
No commercial behind it.
Yeah,
No
yeah, yeah.
big Nike. It's this small human connection project that you make with somebody.
Totally. Yeah. I was on a Nike shoot this summer. It was one of the worst experiences I've ever had.
I think people have that misconception that when you work with a big brand, it's going to be the best shoot ever.
No, it's usually the companies are so big that it's impossible to get like any reasonable decision in, because they're trying to satisfy so many markets. So it's like, oh, this works there, but it doesn't work in China or whatever. It's like, it's crazy. It's too much politics.
Do you think your dreams of becoming a DP and the growth of your career, have you noticed that like you want to steer more away from that commercial space and kind of more into the narrative space? Like, do you find less of your artistic voice in the commercial that you would narrative?
I have to say I've been I feel like I've had a lot of freedom and getting to put like my flavor on a lot of commercials as well. So I'm quite happy to be in the commercial space, to be honest. I don't mind it. I think it's fun. It's also like
usually quick,
yeah. But we need that as well.
Yeah,
it's
for sure.
Like just coming off the show, I was like, well, I'm not doing that every day. Like that was exhausting, you know. So fun, and that is the dream. Of course, I want to keep doing series and hopefully a feature soon, my first feature. And but yeah, I think commercials is fun. It's like a fun way to mix things up, you know.
Yeah.
I think and honestly, I've been very like keen to like I really want to try other departments, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah,
Like what
like
specifically?
production design would be amazing. Yeah,
I
yeah.
could see that.
Yeah, that'd be
Yeah.
cool. That'd be really cool. It's like, and they're so connected to us as well, right?
Right.
It's like whatever they're doing, it's like allows you to point the camera anyway, you know? And I think on the show, I was working with this brilliant production designer, and I was telling her every day, and her assistant, like, oh, can I like jump on
Yeah.
to you guys' team? And like, my intern can just take the camera sometime. And but yeah, that would be super sweet. Like, I'm definitely gonna try that at some point. And
Love that.
yeah, maybe like assistant, like I don't know,
Yeah.
production designer, but
So interesting.
maybe on some small short, someone will take me. But
Mm.
I would love to try it. Yeah, seems like fun.
Right. You also said that when we were talking before on your 35 days, the one you were just on, the
Yeah.
long one, you realized how important your physical health and like
Yeah.
mental health
Yeah,
was.
yeah, totally.
Can you kind of talk a little bit about that and like
Yeah.
why you realized it was so important?
Yeah, of course. I think me in terms of like physical, you know, like it's been very like fluctuating. It's like I've had times where it's like I've done nothing. Um, I've had times where it's been super strict. I think this time during the show was probably one of the best times I've had in terms of like just staying very physical and eating good and sleeping well and stuff like that. But yeah, it's like, and it's really something I want to carry with me a lot going forward. But it's just a clear mind, you know. It's just like time slows down. I don't feel as stressed. It's like what we spoke about. It's like I think it's also when you go on those shoots, it's like you gotta go a little bit more like athlete about it and be like it's obviously like not anything crazy, but you just make sure you move your body. If it's like a 5 minute dance or like an hour run or whatever you decide or go to the gym or whatever, it's just something that like releases you from everything. And I think it's something that grounds me a lot. It's like exercise, journaling, and then maybe some meditation and stuff. It just grounds me. It gives me like a sense of like, this is where I'm at and this is what's important. And it's like the work is not everything. I have so many other things in my life, and you know, it's yeah, it's grounding and it's a sense of gratitude also. To be honest, yeah, and you also feel it every day. You're like, can actually carry the camera.
Yeah. Oh, for
For a
real?
longer time. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I was doing like 90% handheld on this show, so
That could be rough.
that was quite
Yeah.
rough. Yeah, yeah. I had surgery mid through the show as well. So
For real?
yeah, yeah. So it was quite horrible to be
Oh,
honest.
man.
Yeah.
Where did you have surgery?
Just stomach. It was like nothing crazy. It was like
Still.
fluid in my abdomen.
Oh, man.
So it's not crazy, but it hurts like really much. So it was like surgery on Saturday, and then I came in on Monday. So I don't recommend it. It's really stupid when I
Oh,
think
man.
about it. But yeah, again, I think because I was in such good shape before and like
Yeah.
during and after, it helped me a lot to get through it. But I wouldn't recommend that. That was like quite awful, to be honest. And that week, but then afterwards, I was strong again. So that was
Amazing.
good. Yeah.
Yeah. I think fitness has been like such an integral part of my life.
Yeah.
It's everything for me.
I feel like you also like always had it and
Me?
never dropped it.
I played soccer my whole life, pretty competitively too. But also, my dad had me going to the gym when I was like 13,
Okay.
I think. So like, it's become so much a part of me
Yeah.
that it's not even. I don't even second guess going to the gym. It's
No,
just
no,
like
no. It's just
natural
it's
for
so
me. And
muscle
now
memory.
that I'm training for a marathon right now, running is a new thing that I'm really excited about.
Amazing.
But it's also
fun, right?
It takes so much time and
It
commitment.
does.
Like we ran 17 miles yesterday. It's like over 2 hours you have to dedicate.
Yeah. How
just
much is that?
running.
I run in kilometers, so I don't know.
How much? 17 miles in
17 miles
kilometers is I have no idea.
maybe 30.
It's about 9 miles less than a marathon. if that helps you.
Okay, yeah.
So
Got you.
yeah,
Yeah. Still a lot.
it's so much.
That's the
It's
the
so much.
consensus. Yeah.
Yeah.
Got you.
But yeah, and
That's
I think
amazing.
when I first started DPing, I was doing a lot of handheld. Also, I hurt my back really bad, and I
Yeah.
started doing yoga
Oh,
and
nice.
like yoga and
Do you like
stretching.
it?
I love it.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite things.
Can
Hot
you
yoga.
teach me?
Yeah.
I'm so impatient. I've
My
tried
wife is
it.
going for her instructor course soon to become a yoga teacher
Nice.
soon. But if you're gonna do yoga, I highly recommend hot yoga.
Okay.
It's like 100 degrees
So
Fahrenheit.
you sweat a little bit more.
You sweat so much.
Great.
You're like, it's like a waterfall.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
that's better because I'm always like I get so bored. I've done it 3 times maybe, and I
Yeah.
just get bored out of my mind.
Do the hot yoga. It'll change your life.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I'm
Highly
doing it right
recommend.
now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Next week.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're kind of winding down a little bit on time, I know, but I
Yeah.
have
No, but you go
two
for it if you
two
yeah.
last questions
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
you. The first one is more of like
I'm having a good
they're
time.
both
So
kind of practical, but
yeah.
I guess a lot of DPs listen to this that know who you are, that have seen your work. Could you give any sort of advice to younger DPs or people that are in a position where they want to kind of step up in their career? What are some kind of things that they could do to improve their work? Is it something they could do at home? Is it something they could do within the collaboration process or something technical?
Yeah. There's a lot of things you can do. But I'm just gonna say the things that come to mind first. And one thing is this might be my biggest thing actually, which is like being comfortable with not having the answers. Like, because I remember when I started, because I came from still photography and went DP, and then the teams get bigger, and you all of a sudden you have all these people that you're
Yeah.
like in charge of, and I remember coming into it, and I was like feeling like I had to have all the answers, and I was just like not serving anything when it came to that. So I think something that might feel like counterproductive is actually great. Like I'll stand on like recce's and just like producers are like asking for like, oh, how do you want to do this, because they just want answers on like
Of
equipment list
course.
and
Yeah.
whatever. It's like,
And they want it right now.
yeah, they want it right now, and
Yeah.
it's like I have no idea. Like it's so liberating to just
Yeah.
stand there and be like, I don't have a clue. Like I got here 5 minutes ago, and we have not discussed anything like how it's like supposed to feel, like what's the shot before, like anything. It's like sometimes it's crazy. Like they like expect you to just find an image. Like I can place the camera anywhere, but like what is like the best one, I think we need to like talk about it and figure out together. So I think it's like really liberating just going like, I don't know, like, and then because you can notice that other people slow down as well, because it's like usually I'll just have a response that's very like understanding. It's never like, oh, but like, come on,
Yeah.
like I never had that actually, which is quite fun. And I think it's just it's more about that people are in this like high tempo where it's
Yeah.
like we need to get things done,
Sure.
but then when you say it like that, they also come down and slow down, and it's like quite amazing, because then you can
It's a
like,
great piece of
yeah,
advice.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, because then your crew will help you as well, because they see you vulnerable, and
Right.
they want to help you, because that's what good crew should be. They should see you and be like, oh, he doesn't have it figured out, so let me like help him to find the things. As long as you have like the sort of emotional motive with it, it's
Yeah.
like I want to feel like this, and I want to go in this, like I want it to be a harsh light or a soft light or whatever. Like you can just paint with like really big strokes,
Yeah. Broad strokes for
yeah,
sure.
and then you allow your crew to help you, and that is so much more fun, I want to say.
I love that.
Yeah, it's quite a good
I think also
thing.
like, not to go even, we can go a little bit deeper into that, but like,
Yeah, of
I
course.
noticed that myself in the beginning. I had to be very much in control of decisions
Yeah,
because I think
right.
it came from a place of lack of confidence and my lack of confidence came outwardly as I need to portray that I know everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
But as I gain more confidence, I recognize that it is okay to not know everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. It's yeah. It's like it's very connected. I think because it's like we're so, and it's. Don't you feel like it's very justified as well? Because
Yes.
in the end, it's like your images,
Yeah.
and you're like always aware of like where they're gonna end up. Like where are you gonna put this in edit? Like how, like, can I trust you with like what we discussed?
Right.
It's like this is the language we built, and but it in the end, I think it does come down to like a trusting and like being secure enough to let a director direct also. Uh, and I mean, if they take it and go somewhere entirely different, that's just a not good collaboration.
Correct. Yeah.
That's
But there's also nothing you can really do about it to a
exactly right.
degree
Yeah, yeah.
too.
Then you just know that it's
Yeah.
like, okay, that's maybe not my cup of tea.
Right.
Like we have like we obviously talked about this, but then you
Went
like
somewhere
went
else.
somewhere
Yeah.
else with images that doesn't suit at all. So yeah, I think it's great to be in a, like, if you can, like, as much as possible to just get to a place of like being okay with like not having answers all the
Yeah.
time. Like you will allow your team and your collaborators to get there
I love that.
a lot faster.
Yeah.
Without any like hassle or pride or anything like that.
It's
So
great. It's a really great piece of
yeah, I
advice.
think so. I think it's yeah. I'm like thinking about other things. There's so many things, obviously. Um, yeah, but I think that one is the one that sits the best.
I think that's actually a really important one
Yeah, I
that
think
people
so.
don't necessarily think of as even being a prominent thought.
No, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Because you
then
could probably say something like blanket statement, like about lighting or whatever, but I think that's a
yeah,
very intuitive answer that would actually resonate with a lot of people
yeah.
that are listening to this podcast at their
Yeah.
stage in their career.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think that's actually a really important piece of advice.
Yeah, I think so. And it's like all the technical aspects is like I haven't said anything technical. I'm realizing during this whole thing, which
I haven't asked anything
no, no, no,
technically.
which I find super nice because like
Yeah.
I'm not interested to be
Yeah,
honest.
yeah.
It's like, of course you have to get
I might
technical
get
and
some people might be mad because they love the way your stuff
yeah,
looks, but
no, of course, but they can
you know,
always ask a very specific question. I
yeah.
think the more interesting parts is like philosophy and
Mm-hmm.
like this, like, because I like my lighting preference is like not gonna suit everyone. I'm so messy in my lighting as well. Like I'm very like I could probably work faster, but I enjoy when things are being thrown at me also because I'll find little things. Same thing with like color grading. It's like I love when it's like a bit disorganized because there's so many things that come that I didn't expect. It's like what I said, like about living life. It's like the same, like it's so in
It's
line.
play.
Yeah.
It's all
It's
play.
all like the
Yeah.
same. So I like that. But for someone else, it might just feel like stressful
Right.
and haunting and like
Yeah.
because you just want to get there or like you have that direction. But I just don't work like that. I like sort of organized chaos in a
Yeah.
way, and
Love
because
it.
I find a lot in that journey. So and that's maybe like the other tip, I guess, which is like you do it your way. It's there's so many ways. It's crazy. It's like there's literally no one way. So it's all about like getting more in tune with yourself and like finding things that actually suits you
Yeah.
as a person and your work ethic and your ways of getting to an answer.
And I think that stems back from what you said before about looking left to right before you start looking at
Right.
references and finding your feeling
Exactly.
first.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's so much like psychological work
Right.
of dissecting something and then you like get to the thing that you have to get to. And that comes the same with as a DP, like how you like to work. If you like, it's, there's so many things, and I'm still so much working on it, like how I want to construct sets. And we talked about it before, how it's like you become this like conductor in a way, and I think it's so fun because you can really like you just implement a little thing, and then all of a sudden that's like you see it immediately on set. which is so fun. It's yeah, it's like one of those things. Like one of the things I'm thinking about now is like, how can I make like set more fun? You know, it's like, what can I throw in there that's just gonna make people like relax a bit more, and in the end maybe throw something at me that feels like they dare to put it out there. Because that's the thing with crew as well. They're so respectful. Like
Right.
usually they're so in service of you. But if you get people to like relax, they also show a side of you that's like more relaxed or fun, you know. And then all of a sudden you're getting something else on the
Yes,
table,
I
you know,
agree.
instead of them like being so like
Proper and yeah,
yeah.
love that.
So yeah, I think that's another good one maybe, for sure.
You where you are now at this stage of your career and this stage of your life, sitting across the table from that version of you that picked up a camera for the first time, that wanted to pursue art but wasn't accepted of pursuing art. What advice would you give that version of yourself?
Oh, I think something that's like also in line with what we've been speaking about, but I think it's like that person that's sitting across from me was always right, and still is right, and is always enough, and I actually feel like I should get closer to that person than the other way around, to be honest, because it is
Love that
like
answer.
that is a strong person that has like made a very conscious decision to go his own way, and also a person that is probably like more playful than I am today, to be honest. So I think I think it's so much more from like I'm more knowledgeable and smarter today, so I want to keep that obviously. But in terms of spirit, I think I should get closer to that person, because that's also like a form of acceptance, I think, of like, no, you were always like you've always been good, you know, like don't worry about it. So
Amazing.
yeah,
Love it.
yeah.
Mika, thank you.
Thank you. This was fun.
Yeah, appreciate you
Yeah.
finally doing this with me.
Yeah, thank you so much. It
Of
means so
course.
much. Sorry for blabbing so much,
No.
but
All right.
it's good
Thank you,
fun.
everyone. Hopefully you enjoyed today's episode. Peace out.